Shakespeare's Hamlet was written in the 1500s. Now, immediately, for many students, unfortunately, that means you're likely to discount Hamlet or indeed any other Shakespearean text because it was written such a very long time ago that you feel it's archaic, it's inaccessible, and that you don't have anything in common with the plot. You couldn't be more wrong. Okay, if you are sitting your leaving certificate in June, then last year you will have completed Hamlet as part of your single text, or if your teacher has opted to include Hamlet as part of your comparative study, then you will likely have completed that, or you will be beginning that in the next couple of weeks. Before you discount Hamlet, take a number of things into consideration. Why do we disregard Shakespearean plays? Okay, I will accept that the language can prove to be quite a large barrier for many students, and it is imperative and necessary for somebody to explain the language to you as you approach a Shakespearean text for the first time. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's something you just have to accept. Once you get past that, open your mind and allow yourself to look at what's happening. Hamlet. Hamlet is somebody growing up in a world where there is so much responsibility placed on his shoulders. His father is king. He is going to be taking up a role of enormous responsibility at some point in the future, and all of this is resting on his shoulders, along with the task of growing up, having friends, trying to have ordinary relationships. That alone is difficult enough. Then you take Uncle Claudius. Uncle Claudius is greedy. Uncle Claudius is power hungry. And Uncle Claudius wants to take the throne. He can't do that while King Hamlet is alive, so he gets rid of him. Take those problems into today's world, and what do you have? You have a teenager trying to navigate ordinary teenage life, obstacles, schools, relationships, friendships. Then you have somebody who wants to join your family. Somebody who likes the place your father occupies much more than they value their morals, much more than they value their sense of common good. And they kill your father. Or they break up a marriage. Suddenly you're fighting to juggle those problems as well as your own teenage problems. Suddenly the world of Shakespeare isn't that far away anymore. And suddenly you realise that the problems that he writes into his plots are very, very accessible problems in our society today. You look at what Hamlet decides to do. Does he go in with a sword or a weapon and immediately kill King Claudius and say, "You're no longer part of my family"? No. But would either one of you have made that decision? Would you have gone in to a room if you saw your Uncle Claudius praying, knowing that he had married your mother, having killed your father? Would you then take a weapon and take his life in order to exact revenge? Or would you procrastinate? Would you delay? Would you think of this far-reaching plan whereby you put on a mask of madness and everybody thinks, "Oh, he or she would never do that. They're so good, they've had a lot to contend with," and nobody suspects you? Are you the rash, angry person who acts out and lashes out immediately? Or are you the thinker? Are you the planner? Are you the procrastinator? Are you Hamlet? Hamlet is a glorious play, but there are casualties. Because although Throughout the entire play, Hamlet firmly believes that what he is doing is justified. He believes that he is entitled to this plan. He is entitled to make these decisions and decide to take these lives. At the same time, he takes Ophelia with him. Through his guise of madness, he tramples on her feelings, he breaks her heart, and she takes her last breath. All because of Hamlet. He is so self-obsessed. He believes that his cause is the only cause worth pursuing. And because of that, Ophelia's love is disregarded, and thereby Ophelia's life is disregarded. Hamlet disregards his mother. And even though she has done wrong, she is still his mother. And then you take all of those problems into today's world and you think, would you disregard somebody else's feelings? Because your head is only in one place. Your head at that moment is trying to sort through family issues. Your head is trying to figure out the problems that are in your life, and you don't have time for somebody else in their love. You don't have time to risk somebody finding out what your plans are. Are you guilty of these things? Because if you are, then you can understand what's going through Hamlet's mind. You can understand how terribly betrayed he felt, how hurt, how extraordinarily motivated he was to avenge his father's death, to the detriment of every other relationship in his life. And then you find yourself looking at themes of retribution, themes of anger. But there's quite a selfish thread going through all of those themes. And these are things that we will delve into in much deeper detail as we progress through this academic year. But I want you to enter this year determined. Just because Shakespeare wrote Hamlet in the 1500s does not make this a play that's okay for you to disregard. Be excited when you have the privilege to study a wonderful play like Hamlet, because it is a study of humans, humanity, morality, decision-making. It is a study of you. If you were put into that very same situation, and even though you don't live in a world where you are surrounded by kings and murders in court, you still have problems at home. You still have family problems. You still have relationship problems, and you still have to make decisions. And because of all that, that makes you firmly equipped to study Hamlet. To look at him and think, what would I do? Why did he make those decisions? Was he right? Was he ever mad? Did Ophelia commit suicide? Was she so heartbroken that she felt there was no other way out? Or did she simply just go under the waves and stop breathing? Because there was no longer any fight left in her, no longer any reason to be. And is that different to suicide? And if it is, how? These are all wonderful things to bear in mind when you study Hamlet, regardless of whether it is for a single text or for your comparative study. You need to look at your characters. You need to get into their heads, look at their problems, look at their decisions, and say, what would I do? Because that's where your grade will come from. Getting into the mind of your characters means that you have engaged with your studied text. You haven't just sat down in your classroom and read the text and kind of done the homework based on whatever notes you found online. You've actually engaged with that text. Thereby you've done yourself a service, you've done Shakespeare a service, and you will have done a fine job in your exams in June. Okay, only a very, very brief introduction to get you all kinds of excited from this evening going forward with regard to your study of Hamlet. I will be back on very, very soon, and we will begin going through your different characters, looking at the breakdown of your themes, and certainly looking at how you can apply the study of Hamlet to your different comparative studies. If you have any questions, as always, please leave a message underneath here, or you can find me on Facebook under Tremor Tuition. Thank you.